Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Action for the Soul. This week's Parashat is Perashat Mishpatim, and Perashat Mishpatim leaves us after one of the most amazing Parashat Yitro, which tells us a lot about Matan Torah, the Jewish people finally having their mission come to this apex where they're able to meet God, hear God's voice, no longer uncertainty, no longer, hey, what do I do, what does God want? But in reality, a world in which we are given very clear instruction of what it is that God wants from us. We're seeing the promise of God opening himself up and teaching the laws from Abraham to his children, from God to Abraham and his children. And Parashat tells us these Aseret Dibrot, these are 10 commands that are given to the people. These are the pillars of morality. These are the pillars of Jewish thought. As we kind of come down off this powerful episode, the Parashat begins with the Eila Mishpatim, and these are the laws Asher Tasim Lifnehem. Now, the laws are a complicated thing for so many different reasons. But what does this mean over here? Ve'ela mishpatim, and these are the laws. So Rashi, who's our best friend, he tells us ve'ela mishpatim kol makom shenemar ele pasel et rishonim. Because any time you see in the Torah the word of ele being used, you got to separate from what was stated previously. Okay, ve'ela mosif al harishonim. Ma rishonim misnin. Now, what is it trying to connect to? It's trying to connect to what was stated at Sinai, and therefore these mishpatim are here to help us connect to the laws of Sinai. And this is something that most of the sages are trying to, they are struggling with this idea. Well, why would you start this massive narrative of the Jewish people meeting God and them hearing and seeing God for the first time, and then you're going straight into Eila Mishpatim? It's a curious thing, like why this? And then it says, Asher tasim lifneihem, you shall place it before them, right? What does that mean? Why would you place it before them? Obviously, if these are the laws, then these are the laws. What is God trying to teach us over here? And Rashi again tells us over here that God says to Moshe, Lo ta'aleh al daitcha lamor esheneh lehem aperek halachot bet ugimel pamim. I'm going to teach them, don't say Moshe, I'm going to teach them the laws one or two times. But rather, shetiyeh sidura befihem kemishnata, right? It's rather, you got to go ahead and teach this to a way where it is super well understood. They have to understand the reasons for all the matters, all the explanations. Give them the Torah Shabbat Peh. Ve'eni matriach atzmi lahavinam ta'ameh hadavar pirusho. Lekach ne'amar asher tasim lifnei. Therefore, the Torah says, go out of your way, put it before them. How? Keshulchan ha'aruch. Like a set table, umuchan lechol lifnei ha'adam. In the same way that a human being doesn't have to put any effort into eating because it's all set out so nicely. You come home and your mother or your spouse or whoever it is puts out all the food there right in front of you. It's so easy. I don't have to think twice. I just take the food and I shove it in my mouth, right? Moshe, I want you to teach the Torah to the Jewish people in the same way. It's got to be set k'shulchan aruch. This is the name of the book of Rabbi Yosef Karo. He first wrote a book called the Beit Yosef, which was a book that was there to explain the Tur. The Tur is a grandson of Rabbeinu Asher, the Rosh, who actually first organized all of Jewish law into sections. The Beit Yosef wrote an explanation as to where those laws came from and went through the whole entire Talmudic conversation back and forth. So now you have an idea of how the law evolved. The Shulchan Aruch, though, Rabbi Yosef Karo was unhappy with the idea of just having a book that was so scholarly, so he created a layman's version of the book called the Shulchan Aruch. And he wrote it in a way where you and I could finish it every 30 days, so that we have this access to the set table. So therefore, halakha was supposed to be drawn out in this very clear way. Moshe is being told it's not enough for you to go ahead and teach them these laws, but make sure it's taught in a way which is meaningful. Now, the other curious thing over here, which we didn't fully explain that first pasuk, but I just want to kind of tie into this next pasuk. The next pasuk says, Ki tikneh ha'eved ha'ivri, shesh shanim ya'avod. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall work for you for 6 days. B'shvi'it yetzeh lechavshi chinam. And in the 7th year, he shall go out free without any charge. And my question is, why is this the first of the mitzvot that are being taught to the Jewish people? You have so many different laws that are available to us, that are being taught. Why Evet Ivri? You want to teach me a set of laws that are meaningful now. Teach me the laws of Shabbat. Teach me the laws of kosher. Teach me the laws of the holidays. And give me the more details about Rosh Chodesh. Teach me the laws about conquering the land of Israel, going to war. Something more practical. Why is it that you got to teach me the laws of an Evet Ivri, the laws of a Jewish slave? Why is that being taught over here? And how is it correlated to El Mishpatim? So the Ramban Nachmanides, he points out that the laws in Mishpatim are correlated to the Ten Commandments. So the Ten Commandments are the head chapters of the rest of all the other laws found in the Torah itself. And therefore, every single law that you find in Mishpatim is there to express and explain so many of the details of how to express, practice, keep the law that is mentioned, or the laws mentioned in the Aseret Dibrot. Now, this is interesting. Why is Judaism predicated on so many laws? Like I hear it all the time, Rabbi, there's too many laws. All you got to be Jewish, you got to have a good heart. There's too many rules for me. I can't handle it. Now, the Torah is not interested in limiting your pleasure. It goes out of its way to remind us that I want you to have all the pleasure, have all the meat, have all the pleasure, have all the fats, enjoy vacation, drive a nice car, do what you got to do, be happy. Okay? But at the same time, it understands that if you want true happiness, you have to have boundaries. And therefore, the Torah's laws should not be seen as restrictive laws that hold you back, but rather laws that set you free. And this is what the Mishnah tells us, right? Don't read the words of the tablets as being engraved, but rather as being free. Al tikru charut el cherut, right? Or how do laws set us free? Well, let me give you a quote. This is a quote that's based on the Mishnah Perkei Avot, right? And the quote goes like this: in a society where there are no laws, there can be no transgressions. Okay, I'll say it again. In a place where there are no laws, there are no transgressions. The laws are there to help protect us. The laws are there to help ensure that I have a moral understanding of my obligation to the world around me. That I'm not just someone who is lost in a place of, I do whatever I want because it feels good, but rather, I'd rather be in a place where I have a clear understanding of what the rules are, what the obligations are, so that I can go ahead and make the best possible choices in being the best possible Jew I can possibly be. That is at the core of what Judaism wants. Judaism demands excellence. It demands that we get ourselves to a place where we follow the rules, where we do what we're meant to do, and then from there, we're able to express godliness in this world. And this is what it means when the Torah says last week. It says, "Tiyeh mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh." You're supposed to be a nation of priests, a holy people. How do you achieve that goal? You achieve that goal with the El Mishpatim. These are the laws. The laws are there. It's the instruction manual. You want to be a Navy SEAL? Okay, well, how do you become a Navy SEAL? You go to the Marines first. You start the Marine Corps. You get into a regiment. You got to wake up every morning really early. You have a drill sergeant coming in saying, "10 shot." You got to get out of bed. You got to clean your bed. You have 5 minutes to do it. All these rules. I have a cousin who's his first year in West Point. And when you're in your first year in West Point, the rule is that freshmen are not allowed to speak on campus. They're only allowed to speak in their room. You're walking out of you're walking out of your room and you're walking to classroom. You're not allowed to say a word. You're Shana Aleph. You're not allowed to say a word. To teach you rules, laws are designed to teach us discipline, right? I can't do whatever I want. And God willing, when he graduates West Point, then he becomes whatever part of the army, right? And you're on a mission to go kill Osama bin Laden. You can't say, Bali, it comes to me, I should go this way. No, the team is going this way. No, I think it's faster to go that way. It doesn't work like that. The team has a mission with rules, okay? They have a very clear agenda of how they're going to do it. You can't decide in the middle that I'm going to do whatever I want to do, right? You have to follow the rules to achieve the objective goal, right? Eila Mishpatim. God is saying 2 things. Number 1, make sure it's K'Shulchan Aruch. You're going to teach the laws, it's got to be super, super clear. Number 2, make sure that as you are going away to participate these things, be mindful that the rules are there to ensure your success in your personal mission of being a Mamlechet Kohanim and a Goy Kadosh. That is what the Torah ultimately wants. Why does the Torah start with Evet Ivri? Why are we going through the laws of a Jewish servant? The Torah understands a very deep psychological principle. And that principle is like this, that each idea that is expressed in the Torah is there to be mindful of the human nature. And human nature is such, I apologize for all the background commotion, but they're trying to get a Torah out, I think, and I didn't know that, otherwise I would have recorded someplace else. But the Torah understands, you know what, you were an Eved, you were a slave, thank you. You are someone who was served in servitude in Egypt not too long ago. And therefore, the nature of a human being is that you will treat your personal servant the same way. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihya b'dvaro. They're drawing out the Torah right here as we speak. We're talking about the laws, and boom. See, God sets it up for us. We get to see it in action. There you go. See? Open ark. So, you have the Torah telling us that the nature of a human being is that because of your experience as being a slave, it's very likely that you're going to treat the slave the same way you were treated, right? This is something that is very true about human nature, that we often mirror, we often parrot, we often, copy, monkey see, monkey do, what we experience in our own upbringing. And therefore, if you were treated poorly, it's very likely you will treat another slave poorly. If your parents were cruel and mean, it's very likely that you will become cruel and mean, unless you have a system in place to ensure that you can become something more. I'm sure your parents are all great. I'm sure they taught you some awesome things, but there are some things that all parents have that are, unsavory or undesirable. And if we don't do something, if we are not proactive about following the rules, the Evet Ivri, you are most likely going to repeat the same cruelty that you observed before. The power of laws, the rules are there to help set us free. They have the ability of giving us the guidance we need to become better, greater human beings. If it's just up to me and my own desire, I live in a world where there's no transgression, no laws, no transgressions. I can do whatever I want. Everything I do is good. And in that world, you're living in a world of unhappiness, not in a world of satiation, no world of simcha, no happiness, nothing. It's a world of depression. When you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, that doesn't make you happy, that makes you depressed. That makes you sad. We need the rules in society to help us become bigger, greater human beings. We need the place where we could find a set of laws that allow us to achieve this great mission of being a Mamlechet Kohanim and a Goy Kadosh. So much was happening in Israel right now. It's unfortunate, all that pain. It comes from a place of not being clear about who and what our role is. Are we first meant to be moral people? Are we meant to be just religious people, or there's a duality here? I think that, from the Torah perspective, God wants us to be peaceful people. Darchei darchei noam. Its ways are supposed to be peaceful. And then when we see a Judaism that is expressing itself in a negative way, in a very harsh kind of way, I don't believe that's the intention. That's not what God wants from us. That's us not being a Goy Kadosh. That's not being an Or L'Goyim. That is not being a Mamlechet Kohanim. That is us not following the laws set before us. Ve'el Mishpatim, what are the laws? Make sure you understand them super clear, K'Shulchan Aruch. Make sure that you know the laws just like eating, right? You can't forget Torah laws when they're important to you. If you understand that this is the key to success in life, you'll remember all of it. Wishing you a week of power. The laws are there to give you the opportunity to choose, to empower yourselves, to follow a guidebook that allows you to achieve a level of godliness. Shabbat Shalom.